Three guys chilling on a podcast. Social distancing because it is cool.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to whoever and wherever you are. My name is Harry Barr, this is the 27th podcast, and as always, I'm joined by the wonderful Ben Butler, and it's Mr. James Kennedy.
Hello there. Do you really actually say that every time?
Yeah,
it's not
pre-recorded. You should see it because every week we do it, and Harry has to do it so many times because me and Joscel just take the piss out of him when he's doing it, and then he'll just like, or he'll fluster and then he has to do it again. So yeah, we hear it a lot.
Well, that's what I was about to say, because every episode, because I'm an avid listener and listen to every episode, it sounds the same the whole.
Yeah.
So you've either you're very good at it. You're well, as Ben said, you're well practiced.
Yeah. Also, just to so everyone's aware, Joscel currently is not here for this episode, so
he's not around anymore.
Yeah, he died. Wait, it would be really awkward if he did.
I've been promoted.
Yeah. He's at work today, so we've got JK to come on for an episode. Firstly, how are you?
I'm very well, back in Oxford, as I'm sure the listeners are aware, which is nice, because everyone sort of moved back as you have to move out.
Yeah.
So everyone's sort of back in the same place, and without trying to jinx it, there's sort of a bit of relative normality as in pubs are open, so we've all sort of been doing what we would done when we've here, while we're normally here. So it's been really
just
nice.
at a shortened time, really, isn't it? You know, like instead of having a pub night, it's more of a I don't know. It's everywhere's closing a bit earlier, aren't they?
Yeah, like we were out last night with like sort of the pub closed at 11. And all right, we'll see whether this. We're closing in an hour or two. Like, we're closing. So it's just like the whole night we're like, hang on, where is actually open at the moment?
But essentially, I was talking about it with one of our friends, Jake, actually, and we were saying the issue with it is that if they all need to have the same closing time, or to extend their hours like back to pre-COVID, because what it did, and we know it did, it then pushed everyone to these two bars
that were still open,
and then there was no social distancing going on. Like it was really busy. Wasn't it?
I left because I was like, I couldn't be bothered to stand and wait around for ages.
I feel like they should do sort of like lock-ins, as in so the pub closes at 11, but if you've been in here since 9, to avoid that people come in the last 5 minutes,
or just
then
stop
you're allowed
people
to
coming
stay
in. Yeah, 100%.
For a lot longer.
No, I do agree with that.
Yeah.
It's weird again. We are together in person recording, and we did this the other day, and it was extremely weird.
It was very weird.
It is not a. I don't know. It's not very comfortable yet.
No, we're all kind of crammed into a corner. We're recording on my mic. I mean, we are sort of sat apart, but yeah, no, it's very. It doesn't quite feel as normal as it would over Zoom.
Well, I suppose you set up this podcast due to social distancing and isolating.
Yeah.
And now that you're actually making it in person.
Yeah.
Hearing people's voices not over through a screen.
Well, Ben mentioned it. So I think now we're in person as well. It's easier to not interrupt each other as well, because we can actually see when the one's going to talk.
You don't have like the time delay as well. So sometimes like you'll hear it in our interviews. I'm sure sometimes on Zoom, someone will say something, and then say if it was funny, and then one of us, like 4 or 5 seconds later, will laugh.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, but someone else could have gone and talk about something completely different.
Yeah.
So it's.
Well, maybe you should take this time to re-record the song at the beginning of the podcast.
Well, that's the thing. I was thinking about this because when social distancing is done, there will be an end date. I imagine at some point. We'll have to change.
Come up with a new jingle. Yeah.
We will, yeah.
But we have to start brainstorming.
Brainstorming, get the board out.
Yeah.
Spider diagrams, get it ready.
Okay, so JK, obviously you've come here with, and normally you're famous for your JK's House of Games.
Yes, went down a treat first time.
It did have, but I think it was one of my favourite episodes to record and
it was such a tease, Harry.
I'm just saying. I feel like I was robbed of my victory. However, I'm looking forward to continuing it. However, today it's because there's only 2 of us. You've got these quick fire questions.
I do. I've found some quick fire questions to ask both of you of varying degrees of what they're about and topics. But I thought it'd be very interesting for maybe the listeners to get to know you 2 a bit more as well. And it'd be actually very, I was doing this to think about what the listeners would think about what you'd answer, but I'd be very interesting to also hear your answers, because it's questions I wouldn't normally ask you.
Yeah. It's almost like it's like a Q&A that we do with, rather than getting an audience.
But people send in questions. So do you want me to ask both of you and you both answer?
Well, there are 20, aren't
there? 20 questions.
I reckon give us 10 each.
10 each, okay. Who would like to go first?
Well, I know the first question, so Harry, you can go first.
I'll go
Harry,
first,
you
yeah.
can go first. So question 1, what would the name of the autobiography of your life be?
Oh God.
It would be that.
Yeah.
The Life of Harry Barr.
No, I mean, I guess just sort of. I think, I mean, there was a bit of a meme, sort of inside joke between us boys when in second year, when I would say something's really good, I'd be like, oh, it's so good, it's so good, so good, and it was like for a solid year, I would just like emphasise the so good. So
what you still do is these
Yeah.
obviously when you live with someone, you find out what their mannerisms are.
Yeah.
And Harry has really, really specific mannerisms, but they're really like
Well, he's
bold
happy
and
with
strong.
what he's consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so good.
So
That'd be
good.
nice.
It's
Yeah,
so
I
good.
agree.
Yeah, I like Harry. I like
I'd
Yeah.
read that. I'd read that.
Yeah.
Ben, what songs are included on the soundtrack of your life?
I could answer that.
ABBA.
I forgot. It's just the ABBA.
I was watching Mamma Mia the other day, and I messaged the boys, and I was like, lads, I want Dancing Queen to be played at my funeral. I was like, if I go before you guys, you need to play that.
Okay, so any ABBA soundtrack. Back to you, Harry. If you could learn to do anything, what would it be?
Oh, I've spoken to this before. I'm going to cheat and going to say two things.
Okay.
I would love to be able to sing and play the piano.
There's
Two things I've always, because I'm terrible at singing. I've got a terrible voice. I can't even rap. Like I'm just the worst person when it comes to lyrical.
I think singing. I think mine would definitely be singing, and there's something about that goes with it about playing the piano.
Yeah.
Just be able
Just
to
being
like,
musically, really.
sit down. Yeah.
Musical
Yeah.
enabled,
Like Chris
yeah.
Martin as well, Coldplay. Always just tip tap to the piano.
Anyway. Ben, if you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd do?
Buy a bottle of champagne.
Buy a bottle of
Yeah,
champagne.
that would be the
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
That would be the first.
Would it be
What
like
champagne?
have the fancy champagne at the
But yeah,
box?
but that's the thing is people. I've asked this question before, and people are like, "Oh, I'd buy a house." And you're like, "Well, no, actually, you can't. You don't just buy a house. It takes a long time."
It's
So I want the
I've
first thing.
also
you do.
found out that you don't just get the lump sum.
No,
It
you
comes
get
in-
a choice, don't you?
You get a choice of
Yeah,
lump sum or
lump
an
sum.
instalment.
But-
But if you get it in the lump sum, some of it gets taxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's all taxed, but there's a way one of them has less tax, so that's why they.
I think instalments is less.
Yeah,
I
and I think
think-
that's why they encourage.
I think one of the
because
instalments as well is like it's like 40 grand a year every year for 30 years or whatever it is, which is basically you just get a salary.
I mean,
Yeah.
it depends how much you win, but yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Harry. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Oh, good question.
And let's go. I mean, you're one place for this one. Only allowed one answer.
That is a really good question.
I want to go to New Zealand.
New Zealand.
I've never been. I know Ben went last year, and I was very jealous of everything he did there. I'd probably go to Hobbiton because I know you're not a massive fan of Lord of the Rings, but I love it.
I think that would be great to go.
Yeah, it's just such a such a pretty place as well.
But
It's really quiet. As well.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot that there's like 5 billion people there, which is actually is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, there's more people in London, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it is nice because it's like really quiet and untouched. A lot of it.
I went to no, I didn't go, but my housemate last year, Ben, went to Hobbiton on his gap year, and he stole his glass from the Green Dragon, the pub that's there, and he had it in the house last year. It was really weird whenever I'd like drink a glass of water, I'd be like, ooh, Green Dragon. Okay, Ben, if you could be any fictional character, who would you choose?
Oh, I really don't know.
Oh, really?
Do you want me to give you a suggestion in the answers here? So someone's put in Merlin from like King Arthur.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, do you know who?
You could be James Bond. You could be.
See, I don't really like James Bond.
You could be Harry Potter.
I was thinking down
Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. You could be anyone. Spider-Man, Iron Man.
Oh, I'd be
Spider-Man.
Or Fireman Sam. Especially the old Fireman Sam, because if it was those graphics driving that fire, that'd be sick.
Okay, I think that's a two very good answers there.
Yeah.
Harry, what was the last experience that made you a stronger person?
Stronger person.
Was it COVID?
Possibly. No. Yeah. I'd say it would be COVID because I mean, Ben's going to roll his eyes at this bit because I talk about it all the time. But I didn't want to sit around and do nothing, so I started. I applied for a job at a care home, and I have been doing a lot of personal care with older people, and it's made me have sort of a greater perspective on life, I guess. Sort of like, you know, don't take everything for granted.
I wouldn't roll my eyes at that. I'd roll my eyes if you said lifeguard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, but I think that's, yeah.
I think that's
been
probably
a very
a fair answer,
yeah.
and probably quite relative. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
very relative to what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. Ben,
Yes.
what's your favourite indoor and outdoor activity? So 2 separate activities.
God. Very indoor activity. What an odd question.
FIFA, Madden.
Yeah, I guess
I've got a
you
look,
could
of
say gaming.
Bit of pillow talk. It could be both, to be honest.
I don't know. I guess just social. It's not an
Yeah.
activity, is it?
I mean,
It
I
depends.
do enjoy like playing.
But would
games
that?
with
Would you rather be
friends.
in pub indoors?
and the beer gardens.
The beer gardens could be outdoors.
Yeah.
But would your outdoor activity? So that I've got one here. So indoor could be reading. You like
Yeah.
reading.
I do love reading,
Um,
but I enjoy reading more outside.
Okay.
Um,
But outdoor
but-
activity could also include American football or rugby.
Yeah,
so
I really well if it was sport it'd be tennis, but I really enjoy paddleboarding. I think that's quite relaxing.
So to be really annoying here, if you were only allowed to do one indoor activity for the rest of your life and one outdoor activity for the rest of your life, you are.
For that purpose on that question,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say indoor reading.
Yeah.
I will say indoor reading. Outdoor, something in the water, snorkeling. Or scuba diving because then I can
Yeah, good.
go
Do
to
both.
place. Yeah.
Harry,
Mhm.
what chore do you absolutely hate doing?
Sure. So I don't really mind a lot of chores. I quite like chucking stuff out my room, decluttering. I'd say probably like doing the gutters like around the house, because I live in a bungalow, so I can literally just get a ladder and reach up and grab them all out. So it's a job that my parents make me do, and it's very, very annoying.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Fair enough. Ben, if you could meet anyone living or dead, who would you meet?
This is a good question because at the start of our podcast we said if you could
dinner guest, wasn't it?
yeah, we did dinner guests, and since then my dinner guest has massively changed. The
Okay.
person that I would currently meet is Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Living.
just simply because I just want to pick his brain. I just want to know how he comes up with all these things.
So we'll go Lin-Manuel.
Mhm.
Harry, have you ever had something happen to you that you thought was bad but it turned out to be for the best?
Failing my first year of A-levels. So I went into A-levels being, I want to be a doctor. So I took physics, maths, chemistry and biology, and then I got 2 E's and 2 U's. I was like, maybe I'm not going to be a doctor. Was the lowest point in my sort of quite naive life, sheltered life at that point. So I was, and like all my, obviously seeing all my friends going up into the next year and then going off to uni the year after. But if I didn't fail them, I wouldn't have met you guys. I wouldn't have joined the American football team at Brooks. I wouldn't have done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And probably wouldn't have started this. Well, I definitely wouldn't have started this podcast with
No.
you guys.
No.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm quite happy did happen. Even though at the time it felt like the shittest situation to be in.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
That's a good question. I like it.
Yeah. Ben, what was the first thing you bought with your own money?
Oh.
In reference here, the answer is someone's put a calculator. Which I just find great.
No, mine would have been like with birthday money or something. It would have been like a Portsmouth football shirt or something. But the thing that I answer this question, the thing that I saved my money for was, and the first real thing that I bought was the PS4, the PlayStation 4. Like that's what I'd saved up ages.
So
and,
that's
like,
quite recent, though.
Yeah, well, it's 6-7 years ago.
I'd say
Was it really that old?
Yeah.
It came out 20.
Yeah, that was like the first thing that I properly saved my money to buy.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was like a Nintendo. Mine was a games console. I think mine was a Nintendo Wii actually. Like, but that's because from literally I'd had like 3, I think birthday, Christmas, or something else, or whatever. But I'd saved the money from that.
Yeah.
Nintendo Wii is great. That's what my brother saves his money on. Harry, at what age did you become an adult?
I don't know, 23 maybe.
Is that next
Haven't
year?
released
that
that
is
yet.
next year. Yeah, no, I
When do you have your first kid?
yeah. I think
When I'm
I
forced to become
still
one.
have no idea what I'm doing, and it's when I think like at work or whatever when I got promoted, and I was like, oh, hang on, I'm in charge now. I still have no idea what I'm doing, and I've got all these people who are like a year younger than me. I'm like, well, what do we do? I'm like, I don't know. go and clean. Yeah, it was. I still don't think I'm like fully adult yet.
Well, I have faith in you, Harry. You'll get there. Ben,
Yes.
what 3 traits define you?
Oh my god. Physical or?
No, so for example, here
Tall,
they put
I've got blonde
nice,
hair.
funny, smart. So probably personality-wise, I'd say.
Well, first of all,
I'm
credit.
passionate.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate.
Yeah, agreed.
Very passionate about, especially, yeah. I'd like to think I'm kind.
Agreed.
I'd like to, I just do. I like. Harry knows this. I pick on Harry.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely pick on Harry, but
He's
I
very
love
easy
him to
pick on,
bits.
like.
I would also do anything for Harry. So if Harry needed money, I genuinely believe if any of my friends needed anything,
Yeah.
I would do it, even if I wasn't necessarily in a position that I could. And I have done that before. And last one. I'm confident.
Confident.
Yeah.
Confident, passionate, and kind. I'd say that pretty
That's
sums-
a
sums
pretty
up Ben
decent
Butler very-
triad
very well.
of things to be.
If someone said to me passionate, kind, and what's the last one?
Confident.
Confident, I'd be that's Ben Butler.
Yeah.
Ben Butler.
I would, but first of all, I'm very humble.
Yeah. Harry, what's the weirdest job you've ever had?
Weirdest job.
Let's also just say, not necessarily you've been employed to do this, but someone's asked you to do this and they'll pay you a little bit, like a chore.
Yeah. No, I did. I have a job that was a bit weird. I was a games hut attendant for where I worked as a lifeguard. We had a little shed where you could hire out some pitch and putt stuff or some table tennis stuff, and I would sit in there for 5 hours a day in this shed that was falling apart. People were like, oh hello, and I'd get maybe 2 customers a day, and I used to watch so many films and read so many books. Just because I had all this free time and it rained a lot as well when I was working there, so it was the strangest thing to be employed to do. We always lost money on it, but I worked there for doing that for a year or two. Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Very strange. Yeah.
Ben, what's the coolest bracket or most important trend you see today?
Being environmentally friendly.
Mm.
I am actually really.
But do you see that as cool, or do you see that as what everyone perceives as the coolest trend at the moment?
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't say it's the coolest trend, but I think it's what everyone should be doing.
Yeah.
Um,
No, but this is the thing. I would say it is a very cool
Cool
trend at the
trend,
moment
yeah.
because being environmentally friendly can be so many things, and a lot of clothing companies now.
yeah,
using
doing
materials,
sustainable
yeah.
clothing, I think is very.
And then
cool.
a lot of people are
Getting-
because they're
stopping
doing that, I
fast
will buy
fashion.
their clothes. So,
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think. Yeah, I guess it is cool. I regard it as cool, and I think it's something that everyone should be doing.
The example answer here is very interesting, and I'd like to get your opinion on it as well. Is they put resurgence of card games over video games.
That is a lot of people are moving, not necessarily card games, but sort of board games getting a lot more inventive than what they were when I was a kid. I think there's a company called Big Potato Games, and they sponsor YouTubers to play their games basically.
Yeah.
And they're so weird and really really funny. Obviously, a lot of these YouTubers are comedians as well, so they're just riffing on the game. And I think that's quite a big resurgence. But I'd still say that video games are still predominantly.
Oh, I would say for sure. But just think about it now. I think I went through stages where you're really young, you play card games, and then you go to video games. And now I still play video games, but I've sort of started to go back to card games. University helps with a lot of card drinking.
Yes,
games.
yeah.
Or when you're on
Is
holiday.
Ring of Fire
Yeah, I was gonna say
card
holidays
holiday,
when
yeah.
I play
Yeah.
most.
Loads
I
and
agree.
loads of card
I
games.
play most,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, for me, I don't really think. I'd agree with that.
Interesting topic.
Yeah.
Back to Harry.
Mhm.
What advice do you have for kids who are struggling in school?
Oh my god. Stay strong, I guess. It depends. Because a lot of people struggling in school. It could be grades, could be bullying, could be just know. Once you're through with it, you'll never see those people again if they are.
Yeah.
If they are, bullying you, or if you're struggling with grades, just you ask for help. I'd say ask for help.
Yeah.
Because that's the best thing you could possibly do. In my A levels, obviously, when I got that 2 E's and 2 U's, I was I clearly didn't ask for much help.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm confident in myself because I just cruised through GCSEs as well. I was one of those kids who just did GCSEs, got pretty decent grades. But in my reset year and then my sort of actual A levels after that, if I needed help, I would go to them and just ask them because I was like, I'm not quite sure about this, and they'd just sit down. They happily talk to you about it as well. But yeah, it's probably my tips maybe.
So I'm
Harry's declassified school survival guide.
Ben, what would you most like to tell yourself at the age of 13?
Oh, that's a good question.
Were you struggling at 13, or were you in a pretty good place at 13?
So what year are we at?
13's year 8.
Year 8, 9? Year 8, 9?
Okay.
Well, you turned 13 in year 8 and
Yeah.
you're 13 at the
Okay.
beginning of year
So
9.
13 year 8. So me in year 8, my school had just closed. So I
Oh.
joined a school. Yeah, PGS. That's where I met all my closest friends to date now. So that wasn't that bad. My parents had been divorced for 2 years. I don't know. It's a difficult. What I tell myself is probably a little bit deep. I don't know, but it would be something about my brother and just because because my parents got divorced when I was quite young, and my brother was even younger. I remember my dad being like, "Okay, right, you need to be the dad of the house, and be the man of the house now." And I think I really took that on. I still believe I do, and I think perhaps, I would tell myself, remember, your brother's your brother, not your son. And I think there have been points where I still do. I know I still do. Try and father him rather than let him be my brother. So yeah.
I mean, understandably.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's what I.
Mine would have just been, you won't get a girlfriend for a long time, don't worry about that.
Or mine would be that acne will go. You're gonna get medical treatment and it's gonna go. So.
I don't know what mine would be. 13-year-old self. Don't get too big for your boots.
Yeah.
Harry, how do you define success?
Success, oh, blimey.
Coming up to the last final 2 questions now.
Yeah, how do I define success? Such a... God. This is supposed to be quick fire as well.
Apparently we're meant to do this in 60 seconds. I might have misread it and said 60 minutes.
Yeah.
It says 60 seconds. I don't know.
What? Very weird. How to define success? I guess if you're just happy in yourself, like, I mean, again, I wouldn't, I'm not the richest person in the world, but I'd say I'm relatively successful. Got my good degree, got some good friends, good family.
But success can be defined in many ways.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very difficult. But I'd say I think given my age and my status at the moment, I'd say I'm successful. But in 5 years, that could completely change. Like I want to have in 5 years have a stable job that pays pretty decently. Then I think I'd say successful. And I think it's always changing. Though I think if you set yourself like 5-year goals. Because otherwise, it'd be like, I know I'm successful when I've won, like when I'm like worth £1 million and I've got a giant yacht and this and that. I'm like, that's not.
There was the one I really like was when Matthew McConaughey won his Oscar. His speech, he talks about something something he looks forward to, something he looks up to, and something to chase. And the thing he likes to chase is someone asked him when he was younger, who's your hero? And he goes, oh, I don't know. Ask me again. I'm my hero, but ask me in 5 years' time. And so the person went up to him 5 years later and went, are you your hero? He's like, no, ask me again in 5 years' time. So they asked him again. He went, no, ask me again in 5 years' time. But basically he was trying to say is you're never going to reach your hero, but it gives you something to chase. You're always 5 years away from, which I just thought was a really cool way of looking at it. And he's also a very, very cool guy.
Yeah. All right.
He did actually end the speech saying that. Final question, Mr. Ben Butler.
Yes.
What is your favourite thing about working at communities and schools? So the answer it gives here is like teamwork.
My
To solve all
favourite. That's
problems
such a
and create new
subjective question.
Yeah.
It's a very,
Well, fortunately, I have worked in a nursery, and I just love working with children. I just think children, like, they just bring something different every day.
The future.
No, but they like, not that, but I just think like at that age. So I worked with like mainly 3 to 4 year olds, and they generally have no worries in the world. Like, the worst thing that can happen to them is like Paw Patrol gets taken off the telly.
Yeah.
Or something. But they really have no qualms. They've got you know, they just live life happy. And I love working in that environment because, especially, like, if I go in really energetic and happy, they feed off it, and then it just makes everything so good. Like, there's so many times I've, like, been a pirate in the playground, and we've, like, done treasure hunts, or, you know, we find these really fun dances to do on YouTube, and they just really get, like, immersed in it. And I just think, it's the people
So many of those great TV shows, where they match the nursery children up with people in the old people's home. And the people in the old people's home
Secret Life 4-year-old and things like that.
Always really depressing, and then by the end of it, the kids have just made them have like a new lease of life and love the world again, which I think is always really nice. Yeah. Those are the 20 questions, chaps. Very interesting to hear your answers.
I got a lot more deep. Like,
I was
like, what's your favourite colour?
What is your favourite colour?
Red. It's red.
That was interesting. I'm gonna bring something up now.
Okay.
So I was. Oh, how did I find this article? I was watching. There is a YouTube channel called Cut.
Right.
Cut.
Oh yeah.
And they do a lot of these like social experiments. So they do like blind date things. They do like.
Is it like match the salary to the person or something?
Yeah, and they do like things like drinking with my ex, drinking with my fiance, things like this. Okay. And then I stumbled across one, and it was, can you find love in 36 questions? Okay. So I watched the video. It was really interesting, and it was based off a New York Times article. So the article says these are the 36 questions that lead to love. So it goes on to say, it basically says that there are two sets of questions, and if you sat down with someone and you answer these 36 questions with each other, you should, from the experiment, this has been a proven experiment as well, you should fall in love. There's been research done on it, and there's a little bit, I haven't read into it as much whether it is necessarily someone you know, or if it works with strangers. So the Cut did it with strangers. Yeah. But the strangers, I imagine it wasn't two strangers off the street, it was what's your type in a person, and they kind of, you know, like match personality. Yeah. So there was a little bit of profiling. But yeah, I thought it was really, really interesting, and they obviously only go through some of the questions, but they're actually quite similar to, some of them are quite similar to the ones you asked. So the catch at the end is that you, with this person, you then stare into each other's eyes for 4 minutes. And so it has been proven, and yeah, so 4 minutes is actually a long time. So often when you see it, it's like a minute, or, you know, you do these things, it's often a minute. And it is proven actually, like, you know, people get really emotional. We watched Too Hot to Handle.
Yes.
And they did one, and these people, you know, started crying and things because of it. Like, it can get really intense. And so I guess it's going to be a bit of a question and answer podcast, this one. And I'd really like to try this experiment actually with two people I know. But so you two are going to do this together.
Okay, love it.
Let's go for that.
We're holding hands.
And
so they did this on Big Bang. There's an episode on Big Bang.
Oh really?
I mean, I think obviously Big Bang, you know, it's a comedy show, so take it with a pinch of salt. But what they tried to do it was, Sheldon did it with Penny to see if they would fall in love, because, you know, they're very different. Yeah. And I think it was I think when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, this sounds familiar. And then the 4-minute thing, they did the staring thing. I can't quite remember what happened at the end of the episode. Obviously, they don't fall in love, but they were saying that because I think when they asked some of the questions, which are quite deep, when Sheldon actually replied like with deep answers, there's that connection. I think that's where the whole like love thing comes from.
And this is really interesting. I really want to do this as a proper social experiment. Obviously, with you two, we'll just have a look through some questions. But for anyone listening, if you would actually be interested in doing this, and I would give the podcast either a DM on Instagram or on Facebook or myself, and I will try, you know, I'll take some details, and like I'll probably do a bit of profiling, but I'd really like to actually conduct this, and then we would have it as an episode. So if that is something you're interested in, please find me, you know where I am, and I will sort something out. Right, so we won't go through all the questions, I'm just gonna, so
Well, I've
look at each other.
already got a girlfriend, so I can't fall in love with her.
Really, really.
But
awkward.
also, does love, because love isn't just romantic.
Oh, true.
I love Harry. I love you as well. But no, it's not romantic.
It's platonic.
Yeah, and if something happened to either of you, or Joscel as well, I'd be heartbroken. I'd be heartbroken. So love is in different ways. So this might help you to fall in love with each other.
Enhance our already budding relationship.
So here's a question: what would constitute a perfect day for you?
Perfect day. I'd say sort of like spending time with other people. I think so. I think going for. I quite like going for walks and stuff as well, which sounds very cheesy, but and something you can just chill as well. Like feel comfortable with the person you're with. But yeah, and it doesn't have to be what you do necessarily. Like you could go rock climbing. For some reason, don't know why I said that. You could go bowling. You could just watch a film. Like just chill, relax. I think as long as you're doing something with that person, I think it works well. Yeah.
I think for me, would be like a relaxed morning. It's a bit of a lion. And then I'd probably say like a beach, like going down to the beach, but with a whole load of people.
Yeah.
And then the day just be filled with volleyball, rugby, football, like loads of sporting activities, and everyone going in the sea, swimming, coming out, going home, getting dressed, and then all meeting up again for like an evening meal, and then just seeing where it goes from there. like having a few drinks, playing some games, just like having a laugh and just like losing yourself in your conversation in each other's company. I think that would be a pretty perfect day for me.
If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want?
Oh my god. I think I've just got to go mind.
Yeah, I'd say mind as well. I think body. Because once you get to 70 and all your friends are sort of a bit old, wrinkly, you're just there like a 30-year-old.
Yeah, I don't want to be there perfectly fine, but not be able to. I don't know how.
Whereas I've also seen I'm assuming it's sort of like mental sort of health as well, like from a healthy mind. But I've seen family members and friends and stuff go down, sort of deteriorate mentally. So I'd say mind.
I'd say mind.
If a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would you want to know?
I think there's definitely am I well liked? I'd like to know. It'd be very interesting to know who actually my friends are. Have I been successful? Have I done the right thing? I'd love to have this crystal ball. But the thing is, do I want to know as well? Say it tells me you are well liked, then great. But then say it goes, you're not, and you don't really have.
Yeah,
do I want to hear that?
You can't go back to what it was before. What do I want to know? I feel like I'd want to know in the future if I'm happy. I think is one. Because I do care a little bit what people think. But I would say if I'm well liked, I'd like to think I am. So I don't really need that answering. Yeah. And if people have got a problem with me, they can tell me. If anyone doesn't like me, you could tell me. Don't worry. But yeah, no, I think probably future sort of am I happy? I don't want to. I'd never ask, how do I die, or what age do I die, or this or that. I think I just sort of. Yeah, I think that's probably what I want to know.
That's a good question.
When did you last cry in front of another person or by yourself?
When did I last cry in front of a person or by myself? Thing is, I'm like a serial weeper in movies, so probably quite recently. Like any movie, sad or not, I will cry. Toy Story 4, I cried. I will cry. I cried at the end Avengers Endgame. Everything I cry at. So I would say probably within the good last couple of weeks, probably watching a movie. So probably in front of someone with Lydia, probably with my girlfriend.
I am the opposite. I do not cry at movies. The only piece of media I've cried in was Toy Story 3. Although I was incredibly hungover whilst watching it. But yeah, no, I think that's I'm not one to normally cry in films, but I think I did go a good 2 years or so just not crying at all. I thought there's something wrong with me, but in the last I think lockdown's kind of got to me. Like I think it was like last Thursday. I was with my parents. We were talking about just like I was just getting so overwhelmed by everything that's happening. Trying to find a job, and I just cried. And I was like, my mum just gave me a hug, and she was like, shit, I'm quite happy you have cried because it shows that you really, really care about it.
I think there's a stereotype over crying, and people shouldn't do it. Well, actually,
it's a very healthy thing to do. Yeah.
I've got two more for you. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time, and why haven't you done it?
Gosh. Probably. I don't really think about that one. Do you know what? Yes, but for like a really good reason. I can't wait to get married. Like, not like I'm like dying to get married, but I think like I've never been to a wedding, and I've always seen that in films that a wedding day and having kids looks like something that looks really appealing, and I'd love to do it one day. But the reason I haven't done it is because I feel like I'm too young, not settled down. So that's like it's something I want to do. Yeah. But I haven't done it because I feel like I'm too young. I don't know if that's a cop out of the question.
No, I mean, I think because I want to get married and have kids and stuff. It's very, very sort of stereotypical way of going down life. I'm like, that's what I want to do. But I just haven't met the right person yet, so that's probably one of the things. But I think also I want to travel, like properly go like backpacking. But I just can't afford it at the moment. I think that's my reason for not doing it. Is just because I just haven't got the funds to do it. I think that's So like getting married just because I haven't met the right person, and those are the two things, probably the biggest things I want to do, but just can't for various reasons.
The last one's pretty deep, but I think it's quite an interesting question. Do you have a secret hunch about how you will die?
Yes. I really do. So my family has had really, really bad luck with cancer. Like really, really bad luck. So much so to the fact that when I get to a certain age, I have to have like a test every year because it's not genetic, because I don't think cancer is genetic, but they've said it's weird how it's happened.
There's a pattern anyway.
There's a pattern. We need to test you. So there's always an element that's like, well, if a lot of my family have had it, will I have it?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think
But I think that's a big scare for a lot of people.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's no secret that I'm overweight, sort of overweight. So I think that could potentially have something to happen later down in my life. I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to get arthritis as well. Just because I've played rugby from the age of 5, and I played American football as well. And I think I've got the knees of like a 40-year-old already, and I'm only 22.
You might be slightly overweight, but you're not obese. And you're also physically active.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you play sport, you're a lifeguard. You did a big swimming thing for your sister's charity. To save the pool. So yes and no in a sense.
I mean, there's also a difference as well, because you can lose the weight.
Yeah.
Whereas something like cancer, you can't just get rid of that.
No, but I think I think one of the ways I'm scared of dying though is through dementia or Alzheimer's. That terrifies me, of sort of not knowing who you are, as well. I think that's just like I've had family members that have had that, and I think it's just something I'm genuinely worried about for the future. But again, I'm trying not to think about it at the moment.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's something I think about.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. So
that was just a brief little look into those questions.
It makes so much sense. I think it's the element of the deepness.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end it. We're
just in case we do fall in love.
No, you're gonna look into each other's eyes.
Okay.
So it says on here that on the article it says, it suggests during a duration between 2 to 4 minutes. So we'll do 2.
Yeah.
And so you literally can't talk. Just put everything down and just look into each other's eyes. Okay.
Also,
we can blink. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also just. This isn't very interesting for an audio podcast, so we'll probably cut this bit out.
Yeah. We'll cut this bit out.
You got a timer?
Yeah. Oh, I am gonna time it, and then we'll just. I want to know how it.
Yeah. Okay.
How it feels at the end. So they've just done 2 minutes looking into each other's eyes. How did it feel?
Do you want me first?
No, you go first.
I found myself thinking about your answers quite in depth. Like I started thinking just thinking about what you'd said and everything. And it was, despite the fact we've been friends for 3 years, this is not questions we'd necessarily ask each other.
Yeah.
So I just found myself thinking about it. God, it was weird.
Mhm.
Nice, but weird.
Did you feel emotional?
I think I did.
I did. So I think definitely at the start I mean, it was when you were looking out the window. I think we started giggling because we just started, trying not to. I mean,
I was doing that. That's
Yeah.
why I went, because I was like, I can't watch it because I would laugh.
Yeah, no, because my face itself, I have resting sad face. So I was, but again, I was thinking, and I sort of considered looking away for like half a second, because I felt sort of, it felt very intense.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, isn't it? That's the whole point.
But I thought, actually, no, I'm gonna.
Did you feel like you were like almost like into his soul and things?
Yeah,
no,
no,
people
definitely.
Like,
I think
look past the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking about your answers as well, and I think we're very similar in some ways. I think to the way we answered them. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm falling in love with him. But
well, no, that's different.
Yeah.
But you two know each other. If that's what my follow-up
I
question was going to
understand
be.
the test how it can.
Yeah, no,
If you
100%
do you think if
it'd be very interesting, and as Ben said, please do message in if you want to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be really interesting to see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like properly, like
Yeah.
all 36 questions.
Yeah.
All 36 questions
And a
in
full
4
4 minutes.
4 minutes. I'd be so intrigued to watch it done
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, as I said, like you can go onto Cut on YouTube, and they've got just an abundance of all these really cool experiments, and they do quite a few of them. So yeah, go check them out if you want to look into it further.
Yeah. No, but that was. Ooh, that was.
Yeah. It was strange.
Mm-hmm.
The question bit was fine,
Yeah.
and then it's actually I think that's what the looking into the eyes is for.
Yeah, because you have to
That's
reflect
when
on
you
it.
really reflect on it, and I
Yeah.
think that's where the supposedly in brackets falling in love happens.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah. Well, as you said, we've known each other 3 years, but I don't think we've ever spoken about anything that
But
was
what?
in.
But
But
what?
was
Yeah,
it-
yeah,
you've
why
never-
we didn't go down the path?
Yeah.
Oh, so what? How would you say? What would you want if you had a crystal ball?
Yeah.
Would you look into it? But I don't know.
But maybe those are the questions that actually I can see would make you fall in love with someone. Because you, like I said, we've been friends for 3 years, but we just have generic chit chat, and yes,
Yeah.
we sometimes probably have a really big conversation. But those are the questions that really make you get to know someone, and that's where the relationship, as it were, comes from. So
Yeah.
So there's another theory that someone actually told me to look into, and it is to do with post-sex conversation.
Harry and I are not doing that.
No. No. So basically, the idea is that two people have sex, and then afterwards, it's quite often you would cuddle, and people actually quite obviously you talk if it was in a relationship or something, and it's been found that those conversations connect you deeper as a couple than just having a normal conversation, and it's something to do with your hormones and things.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it obviously varies from if someone was having a one night stand and you were doing it to in a relationship, but they actually found people that weren't in fully fledged relationships yet and not in a one night stand, so that almost starting to see each other, that stage before it's a relationship, or maybe like the honeymoon stage of a relationship, that's when it's purest, and that's when you connect the most, and that's when you find out the most about each other, and you have these really deep conversations. And so I think it'd be really, really interesting. So it's something to do with the dark, okay, and it's something to do with being in a bed as well. So these conversations always happen in bed, so pillow talk. And I think it'd be really interesting to see if you could get two people to lie in a bed, not have sex,
And just have the conversation.
in the dark, and see, and the experiment would be you'd have two people who are friends and two people who don't know each other, and to see whether you open up to them. I think that would be really interesting.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh because I generally thought you were about to be like, and if anybody who listens to wants to try this experiment.
This is just a 45-minute pinch to
Yeah.
for Ben to meet women.
Sorry. No, it would be, but as in the back of seriousness, to lie in bed, but to just lie there.
Just lie there with a stranger or with a friend and see if, because it's something about the darkness as well. So you'd have to.
Oh, so lights off.
Yeah, so you'd have to do both to
Yeah.
get the experiment proper.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something about the darkness, creating trust with someone, and having that conversation that spirals off into these deep chats.
It would be very interesting.
It's funny. Language is such
yeah.
such an interesting topic.
It is interesting you said that, because like I obviously, like, going to being a teenager growing up in the UK, you're more than likely going to go to at least one house party and stay the night at that. And like I've literally been top and tailing with just for friends or whatever, and like literally after the party, just lying in bed, just having a conversation with them in the dark. I wouldn't normally have a conversation with them just during the day. I mean, it could also be because I'm quite drunk.
But that's what everyone says. DMCs happen late at night, don't they?
Yeah.
Early in the morning. And yeah, it's interesting. Is what is it? What is that thing that connects us? Like, and yeah,
it's an interesting one. But also, I don't know necessarily if that would work for someone like me, with my friends, for the fact that I went to boarding school, so have slept in a room with them in the dark.
Oh, that's true.
For 10 or so years. So I don't know. Maybe it would work with. Maybe if I was with a female.
That's a
friend,
good point. You'd have to take that into consideration.
You'd have to do it with both. I think you'd have to do it with a boarding school and a non-boarding school person to see if it's.
That's true. But also, I guess, like, obviously you're not in the same bed as well. So
No.
you've got your own little sort of compartment.
Well,
no, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, JK. But yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a very, both the 36 questions falling in love and that one are two very interesting.
But it's been such a very theory-based podcast.
Yeah,
this week.
It's
we were like,
very
JK,
very
come round and
different.
record an episode, and
Yeah.
we've been very deep. We've been
very different.
We are currently all lying in bed in the dark.
Yeah, interesting. Well,
yeah, it was.
I think that's it, isn't it?
I think it's been a very insightful podcast.
It's been very insightful. Thanks for having me on.
Oh,
Thank you for
very
joining
much.
In the flesh.
In the
flesh,
flesh.
yeah.
My
Very-
goodness. This is it. We've done 2 podcasts in the flesh, and that's it
and
for
then
a
we'll
while.
go back to Zoom. You said, I can't remember, you said it in the last episode, that we recorded in person. You're like, yeah, but like it's not. We always started our podcast on Zoom, so like that's the normal for us. This is very different. Whereas like a lot of people have studios, so like we watch House of Rugby, Tailenders, a lot of sports-based podcasts, to be fair. But like, they're all normally in a studio together recording.
Yeah.
They've got a bit bigger budget than you do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're affiliated with people.
I do believe our budget is 0. So
Yeah.
But
Literally, it is.
Well, have you told everyone about your stash?
Yeah, and thank you very much for joining us, JK, as Harry said, and for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Obviously, different to our normal style normally. And I hope, maybe we'll do something like this again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as
Would be nice.
go buy some merch on Redbubble. 27 podcasts. Yeah, we'd appreciate it, and then we can get. Maybe once we get a budget, we can get a studio.
And then we'll put a bed in it and we'll close all the curtains. Thank you very much for coming on, JK. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.